They tried to keep the actual skies above our cities strictly regulated and permanently off-limits to the public. Deep inside private hangars and classified testing grounds, rogue engineers have built something far more dangerous than simple drones. They created a fleet of highly experimental personal aircraft, so powerful and unregulated that governments are completely panicking, scrambling to figure out how to stop them from blackening the sky. Join us, and let's discover the flying cars of 2026. Let's go!
Number 13. Rise Recon. Imagine taking a massive industrial quadcopter, expanding it to the size of a small dining room, and strapping a single open-air seat right in the middle of a spinning blender of razor-sharp blades. This is the Rise Recon, and it operates under a terrifyingly loose set of aviation loopholes known as Part 103, meaning the government literally cannot force you to hold a pilot's license to fly it. You just climb in, grab the joystick, and launch yourself straight into the sky. Powered by 6 screaming electric motors, this ultralight machine lifts you vertically off the ground and launches you forward at 63 miles per hour. It feels less like driving a normal car and more like riding an unguided, bare metal missile. The engineers designed it with removable batteries, making it terrifyingly easy to swap power packs and keep flying relentlessly. If you lose control over concrete, you are in serious trouble. But they specifically built this machine to take off and land directly on the surface of deep water. The entire chassis is equipped with buoyant floats, turning it into an amphibious assault vehicle for civilians. It is a machine built for absolute freedom, completely bypassing the heavy, suffocating regulations of traditional commercial airplanes. At $150,000, it is a high-speed ticket to personal aerial chaos. But while the Recon keeps you relatively close to the ground, another company decided to build a machine that completely seals you inside a bizarre, egg-shaped capsule, locking you into a hybrid-powered nightmare that stays in the sky for a deeply unsettling amount of time.
Number 12. Zapata Air Scooter. When you first look at the Zapata Air Scooter, it does not look like a vehicle. It looks like an escape pod ejected from a crashing spaceship. Designed by a radical French innovator, this machine abandons the open-air vulnerability of early flying cars and traps you inside a completely enclosed egg-shaped cockpit. But the real threat lies hidden inside its engine bay. Instead of relying purely on heavy, fast-draining batteries like a normal electric drone, this machine uses a hybrid propulsion system. Think of it like combining a roaring gas generator with high-speed electric motors. This hybrid system gives it a terrifying advantage: endurance. While most personal flying machines plummet back to Earth after 15 minutes, the air scooter can stay airborne, hovering silently above cities and forests for up to 2 straight hours. It cruises at a relentless 100 kilometers per hour, covering massive distances of up to 160 kilometers on a single flight. You are essentially buying a private, unregistered helicopter for $250,000. The sheer panoramic view from inside the bubble cockpit gives the rider an overwhelming, godlike perspective over the terrain below. The controls are so brutally simplified that anyone can pilot it with almost zero training, totally bypassing the need for a license. But as unnerving as this long-range floating egg is, an even more chaotic invention is rapidly taking over the skies, utilizing a massive swarm of 18 separate motors that makes it look like a flying mechanical spider.
Only 1% of people know the dark truth behind what we are about to show you next. If you want to be part of the few who actually know what's happening in the world, subscribe and leave a like right now. Done? Look at this.
Number 11. Lift Aircraft Hexa. The lift aircraft Hexa is not a car. It is a sprawling, multi-armed mechanical beast designed to rip you off the ground with overwhelming brute force. Instead of relying on 1 or 2 main rotors, the Hexa surrounds the pilot with a terrifying web of 18 completely independent electric motors. Think of it like a giant robotic tarantula, where every single leg ends in a high-speed propeller. The psychological impact of this design is staggering. If a bird strike or mechanical failure destroys one motor, the machine does not care. If a second motor violently explodes, the machine ignores it.
The semi-autonomous flight computer instantly reroutes power, forcing the remaining motors to scream louder to keep you alive. You do not even truly fly this beast. You merely suggest a direction using a single hypersensitive joystick, and the internal computer aggressively calculates exactly how to manipulate the 18 spinning blades to execute your command. It blasts through the air at over 60 miles per hour. The sheer deafening noise of 18 props tearing through the wind makes it impossible to ignore. Like the other ultralights, it exploits the exact same legal blind spot, allowing anyone with $500,000 to bypass federal flight exams and take command of a multi-rotor dreadnought. However, while the Hexa relies on extreme redundancy, another company has decided to strip away all the bulk, creating a skeletal frame so minimal that one wrong move could send you plummeting directly into the dirt.
Number 10. Jetson One. The Jetson One is a masterpiece of aggressive minimalism. It looks less like a car and more like a stripped-down Formula One roll cage that has been abruptly ripped from its wheels and bolted to heavy-duty drone arms. Built from a hyper-lightweight skeleton of raw aluminum and carbon fiber, it leaves the pilot entirely exposed to the elements. You are sitting completely out in the open, rocketing over tree lines with nothing but thin air separating your legs from a fatal drop. Driven by 8 high-output electric motors, this skeletal racer hits speeds of 63 miles per hour. Because it is so violently light, the acceleration is sickeningly instant. You push the throttle, and the ground immediately falls away. The engineers knew exactly how dangerous this exposed design was, so they forcefully packed it with desperate survival mechanisms. It features an auto-hover function that aggressively locks the vehicle in midair if you panic and let go of the controls, and a ballistic parachute designed to explode outward and drag you safely to the ground if the motors suffer a catastrophic total failure. For roughly $148,000, it is the purest, most terrifying form of personal flight available to the public. But as intimidating as this naked metal frame is, the next evolution of aerial transport entirely abandons the rugged skeletal look, instead forcing a full-sized futuristic spaceship to squeeze directly into a standard suburban garage.
Number 9. Leo Coupe. The Leo Coupe is a deception. From the outside, it looks like a sleek, hyper-modern sports car, perfectly scaled to fit inconspicuously inside a standard 2-car garage. But underneath its polished aerodynamic shell, it hides a massive, highly illegal array of distributed electric jets. This is not a drone. This is a violently fast, 2-seat aircraft masquerading as a luxury coupe. Instead of large, exposed propellers that chop the air, the Leo Coupe uses hidden clusters of high-pressure electric jet thrusters perfectly integrated into its wings. Think of it like strapping dozens of massive industrial vacuum cleaners in reverse along the sides of a sports car. When activated, these hidden jets blast pressurized air downward, launching the vehicle vertically from a standstill. Once in the air, it does not hover sluggishly. It tilts and rockets forward at an absolutely mind-bending 200 miles per hour. It can cover 250 miles on a single charge, making it fully capable of crossing state lines entirely undetected by ground traffic cameras. The creators have weaponized luxury, equipping the cabin with advanced automated takeoff and landing systems. Priced at a staggering $459,000, it is a devastatingly fast machine, built exclusively for the elite to vanish from city grids in seconds. Yet while the Leo Coupe hides its power, a massive foreign tech empire has built a machine that unapologetically drives on the highway before transforming into a monster right in front of you.
Number 8. Xpeng X3. The Xpeng X3 is the ultimate mechanical abomination. It is a massive, heavily armored street-legal electric vehicle that carries a gigantic deployable drone system strapped directly to its roof. Unlike anything else on the market, you can physically drive this hulking machine on public highways, sitting in traffic like a normal civilian. But the moment you encounter a blockade, the vehicle undergoes a terrifying transformation. With a single press of a button, the massive arms folded on the roof snap outward, locking heavy-duty rotors into position.
The entire 2-ton car lifts vertically straight off the asphalt, ripping you out of the gridlock and into the clouds. It is a full-scale mechanical beast that merges the sheer weight of a terrestrial tank with the vertical lift of a military helicopter. The internal systems are so heavily automated that the car essentially drives and flies itself, executing complex aerial maneuvers while the driver sits locked inside the armored cabin. The X3 represents a total collapse of the boundary between street driving and airspace. When this machine hits the streets for less than $280,000, it will create a logistical nightmare for police forces who simply cannot pursue a fleeing suspect that suddenly launches hundreds of feet into the air. But as terrifying as a flying car is, engineers in the Middle East have developed something far stealthier, completely eliminating the visible blades to create a silent, hydrogen-powered ghost ship.
The urban Aero CityHawk is a masterclass in aerial stealth. It completely abandons the chaotic, spinning blades of traditional drones. When you look at it, you see no propellers, no extended wings, and no obvious method of propulsion. It looks like a smooth, windowless block of futuristic metal. The engineers achieved this by hiding massive ducted fan systems deep inside the fuselage of the vehicle. Think of it like taking the roaring engines of a passenger jet and burying them completely inside the trunk of a large SUV. This enclosed fan design, combined with a highly explosive hydrogen fuel cell, allows the CityHawk to lift 5 people into the sky with almost zero external noise. It is a silent, emissions-free phantom that can drop into incredibly tight urban alleys, hovering perfectly between skyscrapers, without the risk of an exposed blade shattering against a concrete wall. It rips through the sky at 150 miles per hour, making it the ultimate tool for sudden, unannounced arrivals. Costing several $1 million, it is primarily targeted at emergency services and private defense contractors. A vehicle this large and this quiet completely rewrites the rules of urban security. However, while the CityHawk moves groups of people in silence, another rogue faction of builders decided to strap an incredibly dangerous, high-powered propulsion system directly onto a human spine.
Number 6. CopterPack Gen 3. The CopterPack Gen 3 completely destroys the concept of a vehicle. There is no cabin, no seat, and no protective cage. Instead, it is a rigid framework of carbon fiber and honeycomb metal that you physically strap to your back. It is a heavy, menacing backpack equipped with 2 massive, hyper-powered rotors resting right above your shoulders. When you ignite the system, the sheer force of the thrust threatens to snap your spine. The machine uses a highly aggressive, self-leveling autopilot computer to forcibly keep you upright, fighting against the violent torque of the blades. You do not steer a vehicle, you become the aircraft. Test flights have proven this unshielded device can rocket a human being over 10,000 feet into the air. Imagine standing on the ground, and seconds later you are dragged 3,000 meters into the freezing upper atmosphere, completely exposed to the wind, traveling at 124 miles per hour. It is an experimental, unregulated piece of extreme technology that turns a human body into a high-speed projectile. The psychological terror of hovering thousands of feet above the earth with nothing but a vibrating backpack keeping you alive is unparalleled. While this machine weaponizes the human body, an exclusive British engineering firm is developing a 4-seater hypercar designed to completely dominate the luxury skies.
Number 5. Bellweather Volar. The Bellweather Volar is a machine built for absolute dominance. It does not look like a drone. It looks like a predator. Designed by a secretive British firm, this vehicle features an aggressively sharp aerodynamic body that looks like it was carved out of black obsidian. Like the CityHawk, it completely hides its propulsion system, burying violent electric lift fans beneath its sleek, intimidating armor. It is a machine designed to launch from the rooftops of mega mansions and heavily fortified corporate headquarters. Once it clears the roofline, the Volar blasts forward at an astonishing 135 miles per hour, carrying a massive payload of 4 to 5 passengers. It operates silently, cutting through the airspace like a high-altitude shark. The creators have openly stated that this machine will be priced identically to a private jet, meaning only billionaires, oligarchs, and elite executives will possess the power to summon this silent, hidden rotor beast.
It completely isolates the rich from the decaying infrastructure of the ground, allowing them to glide silently over the chaos below. But the elite are not the only ones gaining access to terrifying new tech. In Austria, engineers have resurrected a forgotten, highly unstable form of propulsion to create a machine that maneuvers like an alien spacecraft.
Number 4. CycloTech Blackbird. The CycloTech Blackbird does not use propellers, it does not use jets, and it does not use wings. Instead, it relies on a deeply unsettling and highly experimental technology known as cyclorotors. Think of these like massive, spinning, razor-sharp barrels attached to the sides of the craft. As these heavy metal barrels spin at blinding speeds, the internal blades rapidly shift angles, manipulating the air in an unnatural way. This allows the Blackbird to achieve true 360-degree thrust vectoring. It can instantly push itself straight up, violently backwards, or directly sideways, without ever having to tilt its body. It moves through the air with the jagged, unpredictable agility of a wasp. Weighing over 700 pounds, this heavy industrial testbed screams through the air at 120 kilometers per hour. The sheer mechanical complexity required to keep these spinning barrels from vibrating the craft to pieces is staggering. It is an agile, unpredictable machine that entirely ignores the standard laws of aerodynamics. But while the Blackbird is a marvel of strange engineering, a Japanese startup decided to build a terrifyingly massive, heavy-duty motorcycle and force it into the sky.
Number 3. Turismo. The Turismo is a brutal, heavy metal nightmare. It looks exactly like a massive, heavily armored racing motorcycle that has been violently fused with the chassis of a military hovercraft. Created by a Japanese tech syndicate, this machine completely rejects the clean, quiet electric future. Instead, it utilizes a massive, roaring, hybrid petrol-electric drivetrain. When you start the engine, it sounds like a Formula One car screaming in your garage. Massive primary propellers physically lift the heavy bike off the asphalt, while smaller stabilization fans fight to keep the violent machine from flipping over. Sitting atop this beast, straddling the massive frame as it hovers menacingly above the ground, feels incredibly dangerous. It can sustain this hovering violence for 40 minutes, tearing across empty landscapes at 62 miles per hour. Priced at a shocking $777,000, it is not meant for commuting. It is a display of raw, obnoxious power and extreme wealth. It is a screaming, gasoline-burning middle finger to traditional traffic. But if you think a hovering, gas-powered motorcycle is extreme, you are not prepared for a machine that abandons gasoline entirely in favor of highly explosive liquid aviation fuel.
Volador Airbike. The Volador Airbike is a lethal piece of science fiction made real. The creators looked at the bulky, electric designs of their competitors and threw them in the trash. Instead, they built a hyper-lightweight, 3D-printed carbon fiber motorcycle and strapped actual, fire-breathing jet engines directly to its frame. This is a single-seat flying motorcycle that runs entirely on volatile liquid jet fuel. When the engines ignite, the sheer decibel level is enough to shatter windows. You straddle the carbon fiber seat, grip the handlebars, and the blistering heat of the jet exhaust blasts the ground below you. It lifts off vertically and rockets forward at 63 miles per hour. The flight time is shockingly short, only 10 minutes, because it burns through its highly explosive fuel at an alarming rate. It is a blindingly loud, aggressive, and highly dangerous machine that costs nearly $900,000 to own. Refueling takes less than a minute, allowing you to quickly fill the tank with volatile chemicals and launch back into the sky before anyone can stop you. But even this fire-breathing monster pales in comparison to the absolute pinnacle of reckless, unregulated aerial engineering. A machine so fast and so high-flying, it defies logic.
Number 1. Jetpack Speeder.
The Jetpack Speeder is not a car, it is a weaponized missile built for a civilian. Imagine strapping a highly explosive metal torpedo to a motorcycle seat and daring someone to ride it. Built by a private aviation firm, this single-seat winged motorcycle abandons all safety protocols to harness the apocalyptic power of 4 separate military-grade turbojet engines. The second you ignite the system, the sheer thrust forces the machine violently off the ground. Controlled by a complex fly-by-wire computer fighting to keep the incredible power stable, the speeder slices through the air at an unbelievable 150 miles per hour. But the speed is not the terrifying part. Unlike every other flying car that stays close to the ground, the Jetpack Speeder is designed to brutally claw its way up to an altitude of 15,000 feet. You are sitting completely exposed, straddling a jet turbine in the freezing atmosphere, miles above the Earth. The fuel only lasts 20 minutes, meaning you have an incredibly short window before gravity rips you back down. The creators are only selling 20 of these to civilians for $380,000 before they pivot entirely to manufacturing them exclusively for the military. It is the absolute climax of flying transport, blindingly fast, ruthlessly loud, and terrifyingly capable.
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.